The emergency council chamber hummed with the kind of tension that makes your third lung collapse. I stood there, all four arms crossed, watching the holographic display flicker with what should have been terrifying news. Should have been, would have been, for literally any other species in the known galaxy. But no, we had to pick a fight with humans. Commander Vex, Admiral Thornax's voice crackled through the comm system, his usual composure fracturing like cheap hull plating. The humans have responded to our declaration of war. I leaned forward, my scales rippling with anticipation. Finally, after 1,000 years of their insufferable peace treaties, their annoying diplomacy, their endless coffee breaks during negotiations, we had done it. The Kryllian Empire had officially declared war on Earth and its colonies. This was it. The moment we reclaimed our rightful place as the dominant force in the Andromeda sector. "Show me their response," I commanded, straightening my taffeta, ceremonial armor. I expected panic. Mobilization. Perhaps some desperate plea for mercy. What I got instead made absolutely no sense. The transmission opened with a human, a female with short red hair and the kind of smile that immediately set off alarm bells in my tactical cortex. She wore what appeared to be casual clothing, sitting in what looked like a residential dwelling, not a military command center. "Hi there, Kryllian Empire," she said, waving at the camera. "I'm Jenny Morrison, and I just saw your declaration of war on the news." "Yeah, the news. It is trending on social media right now. #AlienWarFail is #1 worldwide." I blinked, all 6 of my eyes, independently. "What?" I said slowly. "Is she talking about?" Admiral Thornax looked equally confused, his tentacles drooping. I do not know, sir," Jenny continued, apparently unaware that she should be terrified. "So, look, I get it. You guys are upset. Something about trade routes, territorial disputes, the usual galactic empire stuff. Very dramatic. Love the aesthetic of your ships, by the way. Very spiky, very intimidating. 10 out of 10 for design. Is she reviewing our fleet?" Lieutenant Cass whispered from behind me. "But here is the thing," Jenny said, pulling out a small handheld device. "I checked our history, right? And buddy, let me tell you, declaring war on humans might not be your best move. See, we have had 1,000 years of peace. You know what that means?" She paused as if waiting for an answer. "It means we got bored. Really, really bored. And when humans get bored, we do not meditate or achieve enlightenment or whatever. No, we make war movies. We write war books. We create war games. We simulate every possible conflict scenario because apparently peace makes us uncomfortable." I felt my primary heart skip a beat. "My Uncle Frank," she continued cheerfully, "has been preparing for alien invasion since he was 12. He is now 67. He has a bunker. He has supplies. He has weapons that are probably illegal in 7 star systems. He is so excited right now, I genuinely think he might cry. Happy tears, obviously." "This has to be psychological warfare," I muttered. "Some kind of intimidation tactic." Admiral Thornax pulled up another transmission. "Sir, we are receiving thousands of responses from Earth." All similar in tone. The screen split into multiple feeds, a teenage human boy grinning at the camera. "About time, honestly. I have been maxing out my character in Galactic Warfare 7 for 3 years. Let us go." An elderly human woman knitting something. "Oh, how exciting. My grandson keeps talking about aliens. I hope you enjoy the cookies we are sending to the front lines. Chocolate chip. They are very good." A human male in military uniform, but he was laughing. Actually laughing. "All right, folks. Time to dust off the old combat manuals. Who wants to bet we wrap this up before the Super Bowl? I got 50 credits on a February victory." "They are treating this," Lieutenant Cass said slowly, "like entertainment." "Get me more intelligence," I snapped. "Military readiness, fleet positions, defensive capabilities. Now." The data streamed in, and with each new piece of information, my confidence shattered a little more. Earth had 12 orbital defense platforms. Except they did not call them defense platforms. They called them just-in-case stations, and they had been maintained at full operational capacity for 998 years, just in case. Their civilian population had mandatory combat training, not because of any threat, but because, and I quote from their education documentation, it builds character and gives teenagers something to do besides hover racing. Their mining colonies had been accidentally building warships for decades. When questioned, the colony administrator had apparently said, "What? We got bored. There are only so many rocks you can look at before you start wondering if you could turn the mining laser into a planet cracker." Planet cracker. They had weaponized boredom into planet crackers. "Sir," Admiral Thornax said quietly, "I am receiving a transmission from our intelligence division. Apparently, Earth has multiple entertainment franchises dedicated to human victory against alien invasions. They have been culturally preparing for this scenario for over 1,000 years. I pulled up one of their entertainment programs at random, something called Independence Day 12. The Revenge Returns Again." The description read, "When aliens attack on New Year's Eve instead of July 4th, humanity must prove they can save the world on any holiday." They had made 12 of these. 12 sequels about defeating alien invasions. "Get me Earth's actual military command," I ordered. "Not these civilians. I want to talk to whoever is in charge." It took 47 minutes to get through. Not because of security or protocol, but because, as the receptionist explained, General Patterson is in a strategy meeting, and I am not interrupting his lunch for another alien empire having a midlife crisis. When General Raymond Patterson finally appeared on screen, he was eating a sandwich, an actual sandwich, during a war declaration response. "Sorry about that," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "Turkey and Swiss. Want to hear something funny? My great-great-great-grandmother was around for the last time someone tried to invade Earth. Little squids from Proxima b, back in 2247. That lasted about 6 hours. We sent them home with a fruit basket and a pamphlet about why invasion is rude." "This is different," I said, trying to inject authority into my voice. "The Kryllian Empire commands 400 warships, 3,000 fighter craft, and the most advanced weapons technology in the sector." "Cool," Patterson said, taking another bite. "We have got 2,000 warships, but honestly, we stopped counting after the first 1,000 because it felt like showing off. Also, about those advanced weapons, our engineering corps has a betting pool on how long it takes them to hack your systems. Current average is 17 minutes. You cannot possibly—" "Hey, Jerry," Patterson called off screen. "What was that thing the kids invented last year?" "The thing that made the Admiral mad?" a voice replied. "The antimatter slingshot, sir." "Right, antimatter slingshot. College students built it for a physics project. Accidentally created a weapon that can crack moons. Got an A+ and a visit from our weapons regulation committee. But the point is, our college students are weaponizing theoretical physics for grades." My mandibles clicked nervously. "You are bluffing." "Am I?" Patterson leaned back in his chair. "Tell you what, Commander Vex, here is what is going to happen. You are going to take your 400 ships, you are going to turn them around, and you are going to go home. Then, we are all going to forget this happened. And next year, at the Galactic Summit, we will share a laugh about that time the Kryllian Empire thought they could take on humanity. And if we refuse?" Patterson's smile disappeared. His eyes, those predator eyes that every human had, locked onto mine through the screen. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 1,000 years of suppressed military might. "Then I guess we find out if our war movies were accurate. And Commander? My money is on our writers knowing exactly what they were talking about. Humanity has spent a millennium imagining how to fight wars we hoped we would never see. You really want to find out what we learned?" The transmission ended. The council chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. I stood there, processing what had just happened. We had declared war, expecting fear and chaos. Instead, we got memes, sandwich-eating generals, and the casual mention of moon-cracking weapons. Built by students. "Orders, sir?" Admiral Thornax asked quietly. I thought about our 400 warships, our advanced weapons, our proud military tradition. Then I thought about humans who had turned boredom into preparation, peace into readiness, and entertainment into tactical doctrine. "Get me the High Council," I said finally. "We need to discuss our options. Should I prepare the fleet for combat?" I watched another transmission pop up on my screen. This one showed a human child, no more than 10 cycles old, wearing toy armor and wielding a foam weapon. She was yelling something about protecting Earth and showing the aliens what for. She was not scared. None of them was scared. That terrified me more than any weapon ever could. No, I said slowly. Prepare the fleet for diplomatic discussions. Lieutenant Cass looked confused. Sir, we just declared war. We cannot simply back down. The other empires will see us as weak. The other empires, I replied, pulling up the data on human military readiness, are not our problem right now. Our problem is that we apparently picked a fight with a species that has been fantasizing about this exact scenario for 1,000 years, and they are excited about it. Excited. The humans were excited about war. What kind of species gets excited about war? The answer, apparently, was the kind that had spent 1,000 years of peace preparing for it to end. The kind that built weapons as college projects. The kind that maintained military readiness out of sheer habit and boredom. The kind that turned every possible disaster scenario into entertainment, studying it, analyzing it, preparing for it. We had not declared war on a peaceful species. We had declared war on a sleeping military superpower that had been waiting for an excuse to stretch, and they were laughing at us. 3 days after our glorious declaration of war, I found myself in the most humiliating position of my entire military career. I was sitting in a virtual conference room, decorated with what humans called motivational posters, waiting for Earth's diplomatic corps to arrive. Not their military, their diplomats, because apparently they did not even think we warranted the military's full attention. Commander Vex, a cheerful voice announced, and a human male appeared on screen. He had grey hair, wore glasses that he absolutely did not need given human medical technology, and held a steaming mug with the words "Galaxy's Best Mediator" printed on it. I am Douglas Fletcher, Earth's Secretary of Making Sure Nobody Does Anything Stupid. Pleasure to meet you. That was not his real title, I checked. His real title was Ambassador of Interstellar Conflict Resolution, but apparently humans preferred jokes to dignity. Ambassador Fletcher, I began, trying to salvage some authority. The Kryllian Empire stands by its declaration. We have legitimate grievances regarding trade route allocations and, trade routes, territory, resources, the usual empire stuff, Douglas interrupted, waving his hand dismissively. Look, Vex, can I call you Vex? I'm going to level with you. We ran the numbers. Computer simulations, tactical analysis, the works. You know what we found? I remained silent, my scales rippling with barely contained irritation. This war would last exactly 9 days. 9 days, Vex. You know why? Because on day 3 you would realize you are losing. On day 5 you would try to negotiate. On day 7 your High Council would panic. On day 8 you would surrender. Day 9 is just clean-up and paperwork. Honestly, the paperwork is the worst part. Nobody likes paperwork. You cannot possibly predict. We ran 40,000 simulations, Douglas continued, taking a sip from his mug. Different variables, different strategies, different fleet compositions. You won exactly 3 times. Want to know what happened in those 3 victories? Despite myself, I did. What? Solar flares knocked out our communications in the middle of battle, causing massive coordination failures. Twice. The 3rd time, 70% of our fleet got food poisoning from bad shrimp at a military banquet. Even then, you barely won. And let me tell you, our admirals were so embarrassed by those simulations that they immediately implemented new protocols, better communications, redundancy systems, and a complete ban on seafood before military operations. Admiral Thornax, sitting beside me, made a sound that might have been a whimper. But here is the thing, Douglas said, leaning forward, his casual demeanor dropping for just a moment. We don't want to fight you. Know why? Because fighting is expensive, it is messy, and it messes up our trade agreements with 7 other species who would get cranky if we blew up part of the sector. Plus, and this is important, we actually like most Kryllians. Your export of Zilithian crystals is fantastic. My wife uses them. For her art projects, your wife, I repeated flatly, uses military-grade Zilithian crystals for art projects. Yeah, she makes sculptures. Very pretty. You guys should really diversify your economy, by the way. Relying too heavily on military exports is not sustainable long-term. Just friendly advice. I felt my primary heart racing. This human was giving me economic advice in the middle of a war negotiation. Anyway, Douglas continued, pulling up a holographic display, let us talk about what actually upset you. The trade route allocation, right? Specifically, the Nebula Pass corridor through the Helix sector. It is rightfully Kryllian territory, I said, grateful to finally discuss the actual issue. For 3 centuries, you guys used it exclusively. Yes. Then the Galactic Commerce Council ruled it should be shared because it cuts travel time by 40% for everyone. You got mad, threw some diplomatic tantrums, and now here we are. Does that about sum it up? You oversimplify a complex vex, buddy. I have been doing this for 30 years. Every conflict oversimplifies into something stupid when you strip away the ego. So, here is what we are going to do. Earth is going to propose a new traffic management system for the Nebula Pass. You get priority access during your peak trading seasons, everyone else gets scheduled time slots, and we install some monitoring stations to keep pirates out. Win, win, win. I stared at him. That is actually reasonable. I know, right? Crazy what happens when people talk instead of shoot. Douglas smiled. But I need you to do something for me. Here it comes, I thought. The trap, the human manipulation everyone warned about. You need to sell this to your High Council as a victory. Tell them Earth recognized Kryllian historical claims and negotiated a compromise that honors your traditions while modernizing the system. Use those words. Your politicians love that kind of language. I should know. Our politicians invented it. Why would you help me with that? Douglas shrugged. Because if you go back looking weak, some hot head in your military is going to push for continued conflict, and then I have to spend my weekend managing a war instead of watching my daughter's soccer game. Also, and this is purely selfish, I have got tickets to the new Kryllian opera next month. Your culture produces amazing music. I really do not want that cancelled because we are blowing each other up. He liked our opera. This human diplomat, who had just casually outlined our military defeat, genuinely enjoyed Kryllian culture. There is one more thing, Douglas said, his tone shifting slightly. We need you to publicly withdraw the war declaration within 24 hours. Not because we are scared, but because every hour that ticks by, more humans get excited about it. 3 separate defense contractors have already started production runs on new weapons. Civilian militias are forming. My nephew joined something called the Earth Defense Force. He is 16. This is spiraling, and we need to shut it down before someone actually fires a shot, and this whole thing becomes real. Your civilians are forming militias? Vex, our civilians have been forming militias since before we had space travel. It is a hobby at this point. Last year, the Montana Regional Defense Group won the national tactical competition. They are farmers. They grow corn and train for alien invasion on weekends. This is what I am dealing with. I looked at Admiral Thornax. He looked back at me. We were both thinking the same thing. We had made a terrible mistake. If we withdraw, I said carefully, the other empires will mock us. Let them, Douglas replied. In 5 years, nobody will remember this except as a funny story. But if you push forward, in 5 years, you will be remembered as the empire that got stomped by a species that had not fought a war in a millennium. Which legacy sounds better? He was right. The human was absolutely right, and I hated it. I need to consult with the High Council. You have got 12 hours, Douglas said. After that, our military stops being polite about their readiness posture, and things get complicated. Oh, and Vex? If you do withdraw, Earth would love to host a cultural exchange summit next year. We can discuss that opera I mentioned, maybe establish some educational programs, build some actual goodwill. The transmission ended before I could respond. Admiral Thornax and I sat in silence for a long moment. They were never scared, he said finally. Not for a single moment. No, I agreed. They were annoyed. We interrupted their peace with our war, and they were annoyed about it. What do we tell the High Council? I pulled up the data on human military capabilities again. 2,000 warships, not counting the ones they had not bothered to register. Antimatter slingshots, built by students. Civilian militias training on weekends. A population that spent 1,000 years of peace preparing for war through entertainment and education and sheer, stubborn readiness. We tell them the truth, I said. We tell them that humans are not peaceful because they are weak. They are peaceful because they are strong enough to choose peace. And we just reminded them why they built all those weapons in the first place. The High Council meeting was exactly as painful as I anticipated. Grand Chancellor Mex, his scales shimmering with indignation, demanded to know why we were even considering withdrawal. "We outnumber them in territory," he hissed. "We have alliances with 6 other species." "3 of those species," I replied calmly, "have already sent private communications suggesting we reconsider. The other 3 are waiting to see what happens. None of them want to fight Earth. They all have trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts with humanity." "Then they are cowards. They are smart," Admiral Thornax interjected. "Chancellor, I have reviewed the tactical data. Every simulation, every analysis, every strategic model points to the same conclusion. We lose, quickly, decisively, embarrassingly, impossible. The humans have not fought a war in 1,000 years. That is what makes them dangerous," I said, pulling up footage from Earth's entertainment archives. "Watch this." I played clips from their war movies, their strategy games, their training simulations. 1,000 years of imagined conflicts, each more detailed than the last. Humanity had not fought a war, but they had never stopped thinking about war. Every generation had added to the collective knowledge, refining tactics, developing strategies, preparing for threats that might never come, until we came. "They made entertainment out of their potential destruction," I explained. "They studied warfare like some species study philosophy, for fun, for art, for education. Every human child grows up watching stories about defending their planet. Every adult has access to tactical training. Their entire culture is built on the assumption that peace is temporary and must be protected." "So, they are a warrior species after all," Mex said triumphantly. "Which means we can defeat them like any other warrior species." "No," I said quietly. "They are worse. They are a warrior species that chose peace, but never forgot how to fight. They have all the advantages of a militarized society with none of the weaknesses. They have not grown soft. They have not forgotten their edge. They have been sharpening it for 1,000 years, waiting for someone stupid enough to test it." I paused, letting that sink in. We were that stupid someone. The chamber fell silent. "If we withdraw," Chancellor Mex said slowly, "we look weak. If we continue," Admiral Thornax countered, "we become weak. Permanently. The human ambassador offered us a way out," I added. "A trade route compromise that we can present as a diplomatic victory. Cultural exchanges. A face-saving exit. And if we refuse?" I pulled up the latest intelligence report. Then in 72 hours, Earth's full military activates. In 1 week, their reserve forces mobilize. In 2 weeks, we start losing battles. In 3 weeks, we sue for peace from a position of total defeat. And then, we get nothing. No compromise, no face-saving, no cultural exchange. Just surrender terms and galactic humiliation. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, pragmatism won over pride. Barely. 23 hours after Douglas Fletcher's deadline, the Kryllian Empire officially withdrew its declaration of war. We cited productive diplomatic negotiations and mutual respect for historical territorial claims. The human secretary of making sure nobody does anything stupid immediately issued a statement praising our wisdom and commitment to peaceful resolution. The Galactic News networks barely covered it. A 3-day war that never saw a single shot fired was not exactly compelling content. But I noticed something interesting in the weeks that followed. Applications to Earth's universities from Kryllian students increased by 40%. Trade proposals flooded in. Cultural exchange programs launched. Our opera houses started getting requests for touring performances on Earth. 6 months later, I found myself on Earth, attending that cultural summit Douglas had mentioned. I stood in what humans called Central Park, watching their civilians go about their daily lives. Children playing, couples walking, street vendors selling food. Peaceful. Completely peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful. But I could not forget what I had learned. Every human I passed had grown up watching stories about defending this peace. Every adult had some level of tactical training. Somewhere above me, those 12 orbital defense platforms hung in the sky, maintained and ready, just in case. Douglas found me by a fountain, holding 2 cups of something he called coffee. Thought you might want to try this, he said, offering me one. Fair warning, it is an acquired taste. I took it cautiously. I wanted to thank you, Ambassador, for the way you handled the situation. Just doing my job. Preventing stupid wars is kind of my thing. He sipped his coffee, looking out at the park. You know what the funny part is? Most of these people have no idea how close we came. The news buried it after 2 days. Life just went on. Does that bother you? Nah. That is kind of the point, right? We maintain all this readiness, all this capability, so that regular people can live regular lives without fear. The day my job becomes front-page news every day is the day I have failed. Your species is very strange, I said, tasting the coffee. It was bitter, but not unpleasant. Yeah, we get that a lot, Douglas smiled. But hey, strange works. 1,000 years of peace and counting. Not many. Species can claim that. Only because you were ready for war the entire time. Well, Douglas said thoughtfully, there is an old Earth saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We just took it really, really seriously. I watched a human child run past, laughing, chasing what appeared to be a floating toy. So innocent. So unaware of the military might her planet commanded, of the weapons that protected her peaceful afternoon in the park. I think, I said slowly, that the galaxy misunderstands humanity. We see your peace and assume weakness. We should see your peace and recognize strength. Now you are getting it, Douglas said. Took you a war declaration to figure it out, but better late than never. He was right, of course. Humans had been telling us for 1,000 years. Through their actions, their readiness, their careful maintenance of military capabilities they hoped never to use. We just had not been listening. We had mistaken patience for weakness, diplomacy for fear, peace for inability. The Kryllian Empire would not make that mistake again, and I would make sure every species in the galaxy heard the story of how humans responded to our declaration of war, not with panic or fear, but with memes and laughter and casual confidence. How they offered us a diplomatic solution even as their military prepared to crush us. How they gave us a way to retreat with dignity when they could have destroyed us without mercy. The galaxy needed to understand what I now knew. Humanity had not forgotten how to fight. They had simply become so good at it that they no longer needed to prove it, and that made them the most dangerous species any of us would ever encounter. I raised my coffee cup toward Douglas. To peace then, and to never testing human patience again. Douglas laughed and clinked his cup against mine. I will drink to that, though between you and me, the military was kind of disappointed. They had a whole new weapons system they wanted to test. The propulsion team actually pouted during the stand-down order. They were pouting? About not going to war? Vex, my friend, you have got a lot to learn about humans. Come on, the opera starts in an hour, and I want to show you this great noodle place nearby. Best food in the city. As we walked through the peaceful streets of Earth, surrounded by humans who had no idea they had just avoided a war, I felt something I never expected. Relief. Genuine relief that we had been smart enough to back down. Because now I understood the truth that would have cost my people dearly to learn through battle. The 1,000-year peace was never because humanity had forgotten war, it was because they had mastered it so completely that they no longer needed it. And if that peace ever truly ended, not through diplomatic blunders like ours, but through genuine threat, the galaxy would remember why humanity had spent a millennium preparing. I just hoped I would never live to see that day. The story ends with the Kryllian Empire learning what every species in the galaxy would eventually understand. Humanity's laughter was not mockery, it was confidence. The confidence of a species so prepared for war that they could treat its declaration as an inconvenience rather than a crisis. And sometimes, the scariest opponent is not the one who threatens you, but the one who gives you every chance to walk away. Because that means they know exactly what would happen if you stayed.